Yes.
One question. Would you change any of what you said if you were talking to a straight group? Which is another way of saying, is there anything unique about the experience of a gay person?
There might be things that some straight people might experience that would be similar. Like I think sexual abuse is a similar one, where somehow the person who is the victim becomes, victimized by it in a way, takes undue responsibility, cultivates a secretive approach to sexuality or shame. And I think a lot of those things, at least for me, having grown up, I'm 58, so I was, 50s, 60s, 70s, coming into sexuality. But I think that there's something quite unique in terms of our experience that really immediately separates us from our sexuality because the messaging is so strong. I mean, the consequences are so scary for most of us, having grown up in my era. And I don't know, when you think about, teens suicide among gay boys being up, I'm not sure how much has changed. I mean, I know that there is progress, but I still think there are tons of places where it is not safe to be a person who is not straight. And I think that it causes us to separate from our sexuality. It causes us to sublimate it. It causes us to develop, say, self-hatred. There are a lot of very powerful things that become layered on this experience that I think, there are a whole group of people, bless them, didn't have to deal with. So, so I do think that there are some very unique things that are in our experience. What about you?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think there is. To carry that another step, do you think that because certainly within the male gay community, recreational sex is popular and well done. Do you think that is a skillful expression? Do you think that could be a skillful expression?
I think that it could be a skillful expression. I think that there are areas where it clearly is not, the incidence, the rise of HIV among younger men, barebacking, all those sorts of things. I don't think that's terribly skillful. And I think that that probably arises out of a lot of ignorance, And again, from a Buddhist perspective, there is not sin, there's ignorance, and there can be sometimes tons of it. And I think that that's most unfortunate. But in the context of sex being recreational among consenting adults who have a clarity, that have a maturity, I think the thing about sexuality that's so interesting to practice with is that there's a lot of power there, And I can imagine, how that might be experienced in the context of gay male relationships. Might be the one who is the Adonais, or the Adonis, however you want to pronounce it, or the one who is older and more experienced versus the younger. There could be lots of different ways. And so you have to be very clear and look at all these elements of what's going on in a sexual encounter, I think, to be clear about it. But if somebody has done their due diligence and has practiced with it, yes, I definitely think that it's possible. Yeah. Great question.
We have time for one more question. I have a question. I have a comment if somebody wants to ask.
Who's going to go? Jim?
You have a question?
I was just going to say, in the book group we encountered in Heart of the Buddhist Teaching with Thich Nhat Hanh, we struggled greatly with what you read, the passage that you read, that was so restrictive with regards to sex only being with someone you love or in a long-term relationship with. And it felt completely unaccepting of gay behavior. And we really did not agree with it at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that that's an issue. What I liked about his, and that's why I brought in multiple expressions of the third precept. What I liked about that was that, if you have ever been in a situation, which I'm sure many of you have, where you either through your own unskillful sexual behavior or somebody else's, you have seen more than one person affected, like my first partner, where this whole very tight community unraveled and none of us, have a relationship with each other. You see the consequences of it. And so there was something about that communal, that interconnectedness of sexual expression that I thought was powerful and appropriate. But I really do like these other examples of, like John Dido Laurie, and the funny thing about two places where I found discussion of this red thread of passion koan were in John Dido Laurie's book, The Heart of Being, which is a lovely precepts book, and John Terence, is it what, Bring Me the Rhinoceros or something like that, The Rhinoceros in Me, which is a book of koans. Both gentlemen who, by everyone's knowledge, have not been particularly skillful in their sexual expression, and yet they're the two that are taking on this whole topic. And otherwise, the literature and the teachers are kind of quiet, mum's the word. I think we need to really, have some conversation about what this means. But I like what he says, honor the body, do not misuse sexuality. So the other opportunity for us is to not just, take the prohibitory approach, don't misuse sexuality, but there's an invitation in there. Honor the body. Express sexuality skillfully in a wholesome, upright way. Be fully human. I like that very much. And then this one that took me so long to read, not to misuse sexuality, but to be caring and faithful in intimate relations. Now that's pretty, I could live with that. That's a pretty broad umbrella. That's from Norm Fisher. So I think that there are a lot of different ways of saying it, but I appreciate what you're saying, Jim. It was actually just a little interesting historical footnote here. When Baker Roshi was in the process of being kicked out of San Francisco Zen Center, it was Thich Nhat Hanh who asked the Council of Elders to take him back and said, you really should, because he's asked for forgiveness and things like this. And they decided not to. And my teacher, Darlene Cohen, says that was the moment when American Zen actually began, was when people, kind of the baby Zen said, oh no, we've got our own, we're walking on our own feet here, we're making our own decisions. So kind of interesting intersection there. Albert, were you going to say something?
No, I just wanted to thank you so much for this talk, and to Stephen too for the theme and the topic, and I think it was just very helpful. I think we need to have more discussions on our sexuality and our practice, and I think that it's a very fitting sort of topic for our group. And I just wanted to thank you. It was really a terrific talk. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha.